Padres postgame show on the Padres Radio Network. Coming up, we'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. Listen to Mike Shildt's postgame comments. Plus, we'll bring you today's play of the game. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
We are live inside our San Diego studios. Final score in this series opener between the Padres and the St. Louis Cardinals tonight in St. Louis. The Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. Padres have now lost 3 in a row. They have dropped to 3-4 on this 10-game road trip to D.C., Miami, and St. Louis. And a rough one for the Padres as they fall in the series opener, first of a 4-game set. Welcome into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show. Hey, player, when it comes to giving you what you want, Jamul Casino Resort isn't playing around. It's way more than a place to game. It's a place where you can stay and play in every possible way. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. A lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll go back to St. Louis, hear from Mike Shildt. We'll also have the full game recap, all the radio highlights for you. Well, I know this was a disappointing night for the Padres, but the big positive, before I get to obviously the rough part of this game, the big positive was that the Padres offensively did a lot of good things. 7 runs on 13 hits. They hit line drives all over the ballpark in this game. Manny Machado, a home run. Fernando Tatis Jr., a home run. The Padres really did a good job every time St. Louis scored of answering. But, of course, the problem in this game was, the initial issue was Yu Darvish had a really, really rough outing. Yu Darvish in this game going a grand total of 3 innings and a third, giving up 8 earned runs. The inning that was especially troublesome was the bottom half of the second. This was after the Padres took a 2-0 lead in the first inning against Sonny Gray, who was not good either. And then the Cardinals get one back in the bottom half of the first inning. In the second inning, the walks, in the second itself, the 2-out walk to the number 9 batter, Victor Scott II, put 2 on base, and from that point on, it became a really rough inning. Brendan Donovan, a 3-run home run to make it 4-2, then single, double, 3-run home run again, this time by Wilson Contreras. 2 3-run homers in the second inning, and the Cardinals led 7-2. After 2 innings in this game. Just a really rough outing for Yu Darvish. Again, the walk was a huge, huge issue in that second inning. But from that point on, you just made mistakes. Off-speed pitches up in the zone, and the Cardinals took care of them. Now, to the Padres' credit, as we said, they did a good job in this game, even right away after that 6-run bottom of the second. They scored 3 in the top of the third to make it a 2-run game. The Tatis home run, the Manny home run. Padres at one point in this one would get to within a single run. The problem was every time they inched closer, the Cardinals had enough of a response to extend the lead a little bit. They would ultimately take a 9-7 lead. The home run in the bottom half of the 6th inning from Ivan Herrera, the last run they would score to make it 9-7. And, Jesse and Tony did a really good job illustrating that despite the Cardinals not playing well as of late, they entered this series coming off a really rough road trip, a 1-5 road trip, including losing 2 out of 3 in Colorado. They have gone 5-13 in their last 18 games. One of the aspects of their team that's been really good through all that, their bullpen. Their bullpen was really good on the trip, and you saw that in this game. The bullpen for St. Louis today, they end up getting 4 scoreless innings, giving up 2 hits. Riley O'Brien gets 1 out. Jojo Romero was terrific, inning and 2/3 scoreless. Maton Helsley in the 8th and the 9th, they get it done, scoreless innings for them. You know what? The Padres bullpen was not bad either. They kept this game right around where it was, kept the offense very much in this game. But the reality was this: the Padres trailed 7-2 through 2 innings, and they couldn't quite overcome that initial 5-run deficit, and you're asking a lot of your pitching staff to keep the Cardinals at 7 runs from that point forward. More specifically, Darvish giving up 8 runs, and then, you're asking a lot. Look, the Padres bullpen gave up 1 run in a ton of innings of work tonight. So, look, when your starting pitcher allows 8 runs and doesn't get out of the 4th inning, you're probably going to have a really, really tall uphill battle to climb. The Padres, again, to their credit, did make this ball game. They answered a bunch of times, but they just could not find a way to climb what was going to be a really tall mountain in this game when they fell behind by so much so early in this one. The hope, I would think, from this game, from a Padres standpoint, do you love the fact that they're 3-4 on this road trip? No. Do you love the fact that they've lost 3 in a row? No. Do you love what Darvish did tonight? Do you have somewhat of a concern with him? I don't know. We'll talk about it as the post game goes along. But one big positive from this game, the offense woke up in a major way. And you have to just hope that this wasn't just a one-off kind of night. You have to hope that this is the start of something bigger for this offense. To their credit, Fernando had 3 hits, including the home run. Luis Arraez had 2 hits. Manny Machado had 3 hits. Jackson Merrill had 2 hits. Xander had a hit. Sheets had a hit. They were really productive, the top of that order, and especially the top of the top, Tatis, Arraez, Machado, Merrill. They were really good today. Now, again, on the other hand, you hate to lose a game like this where your offense does a lot of good things and those guys perform so well. Unfortunately, it also happened on a day where Darvish didn't have it, and they end up giving up 9 runs total in this ball game. But you have to hope that this was a sign of things to come. If it is, that's really good news. And to me, that's even more important than the result of this game. You have to hope. And we'll see how it plays out over the course of the next 3 days. Look, Sonny Gray was not good tonight. He hasn't been good as of late. He was coming off one of the worst outings of his career in Denver, in Arizona, his last time out on that Cardinals road trip. So we'll see. We're going to find out tomorrow and Saturday, Sunday, see if the Padres can continue this offensive momentum. So if you want to take that away from tonight and to hold on to that moving forward, I think totally fair. You hope it's a sign of things to come. But again, when your starting pitcher gives up 8 runs and doesn't get out of the 4th inning, most times that's going to be a tough hole to climb out of, and it proved to be a little bit too deep for the Padres to ultimately climb out of it here today. When we come back, full game recap, all the radio highlights. We'll go back to St. Louis, hear from Mike Shildt. Much more to do. Padres fall 9-7 in this series opener in St. Louis. Our post-game coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap this one up on this Thursday evening. Final score, the Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. Padres dropped to 55-48 with the defeat. Cardinals improved to 53-51. We'll hear from Mike Shildt from Busch Stadium in St. Louis in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. We have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our daily awards. We can get to your phone calls coming up a little bit later as well. Let's recap this one. How it went down in the Lou.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, we had a ton of offense early on in this one. First inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a leadoff single against Cardinals starter Sonny Gray. Luis Arraez was next.
Pitch to Arraez, swung on, lined into right field. That's a base hit down the line. Walker, long way to go to get it. Fernando racing towards third. He's going to be waved around. On his way home is Arraez round second. It's an RBI double for Luis Arraez, and the Padres have a 1-0 lead.
Arraez still on second base later in the inning for Jackson Merrill.
2-0 pitch is in the air down the right field line. That's down to the base hit. Arraez rounding third. He's going to score. Merrill going to challenge Walker. No. Slams on the brakes. Heads back to first base. It's an RBI single and a 2-0 Padre lead.
So Yu Darvish took the mound in the bottom half of the inning. He gave up a leadoff single, then a 2-out RBI double to Wilson Contreras. That made it a 2-1 game. Fast forward to the bottom half of the second. Darvish was dealing with a runner on first base and 2 men away. He walked the number 9 batter, Victor Scott, the second, to put 2 runners on base. That brought up Brendan Donovan.
Handed batter. Donovan rips it in the air down the right field line. Headed towards the wall. Gonna go. 3-run homer, Brendan Donovan. Oh, he tore the Padres up last season, and now 2 for 2 tonight as he gives the Redbirds a 4-2 lead.
The Cards, though, weren't done. A single, a double. There were 2 on base for Wilson Contreras.
Delivers, and that's hit in the air to very deep left center field. Johnson's going back into the gap at the wall. Gonna go. Second home run of the inning for the Cardinals. Wilson Contreras adds another extra base hit to the ledger. A 3-run homer, and it is 7-2 here in the second inning.
The Cardinals with a pair of 3-run homers and a 6-run bottom of the second. And again, most of that trouble really starting with 2 outs in that inning. So the Padres offense had quite the task in front of them, down 7-2 through 2 innings, but they answered in the top of the third. Fernando Tatis Jr. led off.
Fire, and Fernando sends it in the air to deep right center field. Scott is back into the gap, looking up. This one gonna go into the Cardinal bullpen. 17th home run of the season for Fernando. He's 2 for 2 on the night, and the Padres make a loud noise to begin the third inning. It's 7-3.
Pods weren't done. Luis Arraez doubled. That brought up Manny Machado.
And the pitch to Manny, hit in the air to right center field, tailing away from Scott. He's on the move. He looks up. It's going to go! 2-run homer the other way for Manny Machado. Padres have answered right back, and this is a 2-run game.
Home run number 19 of the season for Manny. 3 batters into the third, 3 runs scored. And like Jesse said, the Padres are right back in it. It was 7-5. Darvish did a good job in the third. He threw up a 0 to keep it a 2-run game. But in the fourth inning, Darvish issued another walk, this time a leadoff walk, to Victor Scott, the second, in the number 9 spot. Scott stole second base. Ivan Herrera drove him in with an RBI single. Cardinals led 8-5. Yu Darvish was done after just 3 innings and a third. But Padres responded in the top of the 5th inning against Gray. Jackson Merrill hit a leadoff single. Xander Bogaerts banged a double off the right field fence. That got Merrill to third. Gavin Sheets drove Merrill home with a ground out. That made it 8-6. Bogaerts on that play went to third base with 2 men away, and Bogey still on third. Bryce Johnson was at the plate.
Johnson swings, hits it off the handle to the right side. Contreras way off at first, has it, feeds the pitcher Gray. It goes off his glove. Bogaerts comes in to score. Johnson is safe, and it's a 1-run game.
A 1-run game, Cardinals leading 8-7. Yuki Matsui then ran into major trouble in the bottom half of the 5th inning. A walk, a single, another walk. He did get 2 outs. Wandy Peralta entered with the bases loaded and got a ground out to end the inning. Padres then threatened against the Cardinal bullpen in the top of the 6th inning. They put 2 on with 1 out. but left-hander Jojo Romero retired Jackson Merrill and Xander Bogaerts to end the inning. Bottom half of the sixth inning, Wandy Peralta gave up a solo home run to Ivan Herrera. That made it 9-7 St. Louis. Romero pitched the scoreless top of the seventh inning. Jeremiah Estrada did the same in the bottom half. Phil Maton pitched a scoreless top of the eighth inning. Kyle Hart worked out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the eighth inning. Padres turning a superb 3-6-3 double play to end the inning. So after all that, still just a 2-run deficit for the Padres going to the ninth inning. Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley came in. Manny Machado greeted him with a leadoff single, but then Helsley struck out Jackson Merrill. Xander Bogaerts flew out to right. The game was left up to Gavin Sheets.
Sheets swings and misses, and the ball in the dirt picked up by Pages. He'll tag him out. That is strike 3 in the end of the ball game. So Helsley works a scoreless ninth, and a wild night at Busch comes to a close with the Cardinals ahead 9-7.
Final totals in this one for the Cards: 9 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. For San Diego, 7 runs, 13 hits, no errors. Padres dropped to 55 and 48. Cardinals improved to 53 and 51. Padres went 2 for 11 today with runners in scoring position. The Cards went 3 for 9 with RISP. Yu Darvish took the loss. He's now 0-3. Winning pitcher Sonny Gray, he's 10-4. And the save went to Ryan Helsley, his 20th of the season. Taking a look at how it all impacted the standings today, and we'll get to the out-of-town scoreboard a little bit later, but we had most of the teams in baseball not in action. We had 5 games across the majors today. So looks like this now. The Padres lost a half game as far as their spot in the wild card standings. They still do hold that final spot. But the Giants now a game back, Reds 2 games back, and St. Louis, they have a golden opportunity in this series. They pick up a full game. They are now 2.5 games back of San Diego for that third and final wild card spot, and the Padres also dropping to 5 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. So that's where things will stand at the end of tonight, with the Padres and the rest of Major League Baseball now being less than a week away from the trade deadline, coming up next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. When we come back, we'll go back to St. Louis, hear from Mike Shildt. Again, the final score tonight, Cardinals 9, Padres 7. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score today in St. Louis, the Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. Padres have lost 3 in a row in the midst of this 10-game road trip. They have 3 games remaining tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday in St. Louis. We'll talk more about the rest of this series coming up in just a little bit. Again, the headlines from this one, Yu Darvish with a really rough outing. 3 innings in the third, 8 earned runs given up on 8 hits, including a pair of 3-run home runs allowed in the bottom half of the second inning. That was all after the Padres got off to a great start in this one. They were all over Sonny Gray early. It took a 2-0 lead in the top of the first inning. Cardinals getting a run in the first, and then the 2 3-run home runs in the second. And one interesting part of the troubles for Darvish today, you can really pinpoint the 2 walks he gave up to Victor Scott II in the number 9 spot. Again, the really frustrating part about that second inning was that you had 2 outs and a runner on first base. No big deal, right? Walks Scott, the number 9 batter, and then the home run by Donovan, then a single, then a double, then a home run. So 2 3-run home runs. And again, it was all kind of set up by that 2-out walk to the Cardinals number 9 batter. And then in the 4th inning, he walks Scott again to begin the 4th inning. And guess what? Scott steals second, goes to third on a ground out, comes home on an RBI single. And that was the 8th run that Yu Darvish gave up. So those couple of those couple of walks to the number 9 batter, Scott, really, really critical in this game for Yu Darvish. The Padres, again, they found a way to make it a 2-run game later, make it a 1-run game, but the hill was too tall for the Padres to climb after they were trailing 7-2 through 2 innings. Certainly offensively, look, you hope it's a sign of things to come. Fernando had a great night, 3 hits in the home run. Arise had 2 hits, including 2 doubles, a couple of runs scored. Manny had 3 hits, including the home run. Merrill had 2 hits in this game. Bogarts had a double off the right field fence. Gavin Sheets had a base hit in this game. So look, should you be happy about the final score and the fact that they've lost 3 in a row? No. But I do think you hope that offensively it's a sign of things to come. We'll see if that's the case, because we just have not seen the Padres play many games like this one offensively, where they're spraying the ball all over the place and there's multiple rallies and there's an offensive answer, in multiple innings. So we'll see. Only time will tell if this was, kind of a mirage by the offense, or if this is something the Padres can sustain offensively. And quite frankly, to me, that's the major question heading out of this game. Certainly, I think you could have, some questions about Yu Darvish, right? And the way he's performed so far, and specifically how tonight went. But to me, in a big picture sense right now, the question is, can they continue what they did offensively into the rest of this series? We're going to find out. With all that in mind, let's go back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis and hear from the Padres skipper.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
6 or so innings out of your offense. What do you make of tonight's game?
Yeah, I'm pleased the whole game. I looked at great at bats. The top 5 guys were really, really good. Driving the ball the other way through the middle of the field. Toddy looked excellent. Bulky loves the bat. Manny drove the ball the other way. Jackson, good swings. Pulled the ball for an RBI through the middle a couple times. Hit the ball on the button. Bogies and bats were good again for the most part, and we were able to put good 7 runs. We just weren't able to hold them under.
How much, if any, of the way that you maybe is missing some spots, do you believe has to do with it?
I think that's probably the primary thing. It's just, he did a pretty good job of getting to 2 strikes tonight. He just made some mistakes with 2 strikes. The couple walks to the 9-hole guy didn't help. Turn the lineup over, which is good lineup at the top over there. And but it's really just about making consistent quality pitches. Just made a few too many mistakes and they made it back.
What is your assessment of where he is right now? And it was obviously kind of a different build-up for him,
right?
Where he was, come back from the injury. What is your assessment of kind of where he is?
Yeah, I think a lot of things are coming out. I talked to Ruben about it during the game and making sure that metrically everything's good and spin's good, and he doesn't seem compromised, and velocity's maybe down a hair. He's not getting sixes or sevens, but I don't know that he can pitch just fine with 2 to 4 to maybe a 5 occasionally, but it's really just the consistency of the location to Ace's question. So that's what it really just boils down to. Otherwise, he looks and everything is trending in a very normal Yu Darvish manner.
In particular, you guys go down 7-2 in your first 3 at bats. In particular, the Toddy, Horizon, Machado. Do those stand out to you in any way? The way that they, after going down 5, battled.
Yeah, I mean, this team battles. I mean, I don't. That's something that's pretty consistent. So it didn't stand out to me because this team battles regardless of circumstance. We play a lot of close games, and we don't get down, with a crooked number very often. But if we do, we're going to figure out a way to battle our tail off and answer right back. Toddy, boom, Louie, bang, and then Manny 2-run homer, and here we go. Felt like we had a shot there at the end. It's one of the reasons for a couple, but primarily I felt good about Estrada. The bullpen was good. Yuki was able to navigate some traffic, and Wandy bailed him out, and then Wandy got through his inning, except for the homer. It was the only blemish for the bullpen, and took our shot with Estrada with the middle part of their lineup in the 7th, and knowing our lineup was where it was coming up, and we just couldn't scratch any further. But the top of the lineup, and the fight and the competitiveness is always on display with this group.
So Japanese fans don't have to worry about you?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, no, there wasn't anything compromised physically. He seems to be in a pretty good spot. We'll see how he recovers. That'll be more of a tell after the game and then tomorrow. But no, ball's coming out, and but he had worked hard to get the 69 pitches. We were going to take him probably past 80, 85 anyway. And there's that point in the game where it made sense to go with the bullpen for Yuki. But no, I don't think there's anything alarming.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after this 9-7 loss for the Padres in St. Louis, as the Padres drop a 3rd in a row and this series opener, first game of this 4-game set. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. Let's talk about Yu Darvish a little bit. I thought the issue tonight, again, we talked about the 2-out walk in the 2nd that proved to be really, really important. And then the leadoff walk in the 4th inning ended up scoring as well. It was interesting in this sense. On one hand, you felt watching him tonight like the misses weren't huge at moments, but there were some big spots where he just hung some pitches. I mean, there was the pitch to Donovan that was a really good pitch for Donovan to hit. There was the pitch to Contreras that was a hanging off speed pitch. He just missed and up, especially with that pitch to Contreras, and you're just not used to seeing Darvish miss like that. The question for Yu Darvish and the Padres, I think, as this season moves forward, and he'll have one more start this month, is going to be this. Tonight was certainly the toughest outing of Darvish's early season to this point, right? I mean, he was solid in DC. I mean, not stellar, but 5 innings, 3 runs. It certainly wasn't what it was tonight. The question is going to be, is what we saw tonight, the misses, is it just a function of Darvish, who was out for a while and didn't have a spring training? Is it just a function of him knocking off some of the rust? And this is going to be kind of a build-up process for him to get to the version of Yu Darvish we've seen before, or will there be struggles beyond that deeper into the season? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how much this is just part of the circumstances he's been in this season and now coming back. We're going to find out. I don't have that answer yet, but is it a very important question for the Padres, how he's going to perform the final couple of months of this season? I think it is. I think it is, especially when you couple it with some of the rumors about the Padres maybe, looking to shop Dylan Cease. If that could be part of their trade deadline strategy. Look, if they were to do that, I would think having a really, really good version of Yu Darvish would be pretty important, right? Because it means that everybody else is going to have to perform well in that rotation and make up the innings. And Again, that's a more complex question of if they do end up dealing Cease, what that means for everybody else. But look, there's no doubt the best version of the Padres is going to be with you, Darvish, getting back to, quite frankly, the version of you that we saw the last time we saw him before this season, which was in the postseason. I mean, he was great that game in LA. It wasn't his fault the Padres lost that game 5. He was excellent. Gave up a couple of home runs. The Padres couldn't overcome it. Not to rehash game 5 of the National League Division Series at this point. My point is, we're going to find out over the course of the next couple of months if this was just early stuff from you, Darvish, or if it's something more than that. And I don't know the answer to that question. Again, I thought at times his misses were not big tonight, but in those couple of spots and on the home runs, especially the second, I thought it really stood out. They were just, it was missed location. It was up. I mean, they were hangers up in the zone. So we shall see, but it's a very important question for the Padres, especially if they do end up moving a guy like Dylan Cease. I mean, to me, that's a major question of, okay, what are you getting from you, Darvish, the rest of this season? So you can't answer it right now, but certainly a tough one here tonight for you. 3 innings in the third, 8 runs given up. And we shall see what the next start for you, Darvish, looks like. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll continue to break down this game. We have our daily awards. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. If you want to squeeze a phone call in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Final score, St. Louis 9 and San Diego 7. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. As always, our postgame coverage brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Final score here tonight, Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, the phone number to dial. Let's tell you about tonight's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, presented by David P. Shapiro Criminal Defense Attorneys. When your freedom and future are on the line, you need the best arm in the pen. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com.
Our relief pitcher of the game here tonight, I'll tell you, I think it's pretty obvious, quite honestly. To me, it's got to be St. Louis's Jojo Romero. You got to look at what Romero did in this game. He comes in the sixth inning. At this point, it is only a one-run game. The Padres are down 8-7 at that point, top of the sixth inning. 2 on, 1 out. He faces Merrill, strikes him out. Bogarts grounds out, inning over. Romero then comes back out, strikes out the side, Sheets, Cronenworth, and Johnson in the seventh inning. So total for Romero, inning and 2/3, no runs, no hits, struck out for 22 pitches, got 5 outs in this game, including those 2 outs with the tying and go-ahead runs on base. I mean, that was outstanding work by Jojo Romero. It really was. And look, I said earlier, and I think it's true. This was a good night for the Padres offense. It was. Okay, they did a lot of good things. Top of the order was great. The way they answered, the at-bats right after they were trailing 7-2. There was a lot of good to take away. However, the one area where it was not great was the later innings. You look at that sixth inning, again, tying run on second, go-ahead run on first base. I know this was a very different kind of close game than we're accustomed to seeing the Padres play, but it was only a one-run game and ended up being a 2-run game. Guess what? For how different this game was, it's going to fall in that 1 or 2-run game category that we keep talking about. It's another close game, but I do think this one, it was a little different here tonight. And then the Cardinal bullpen was really good. I mean, the Padres in the seventh, again, Romero strikes out the side. They went down 1-2-3 in the eighth inning. They get the tying run on base with Machado's leadoff single against Helsley in the ninth inning, cannot score. So you really look at it from the moment in the sixth inning, they had 2 on with 1 out, down by 1. They only had 1 other base runner the rest of the way, and that was the Machado single. So, look, as the game got later, they could not find a way to muster up offense against this Cardinals bullpen, which has been good. So, look, overall, do I like the offensive day? Yeah. I don't know how you come away from this game not liking what they did offensively overall, but yeah, the later innings, it got quiet. So we'll see. Again, that's kind of the question coming out of this one. I think there are 2 questions. Number one, what was this, just early stuff for you, Darvish, and working through things as he comes back? Or is it something more to be worried about? And also, is this what we saw from the offense tonight? Is this something they can carry forward? And we're going to find out. Don't have the answers yet. We'll see tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as the Padres wrap up this 10-game road trip. Let's hear today's catch of the game.
Which defensive play had the biggest impact on today's game?
He is at the wall, leaps up, and he makes the catch.
This is the catch of the game.
Gonna hang a star for Jackson Merrill.
Reeled in by Anthony's Fish Grotto La Mesa, celebrating 80 years of seafood excellence.
Burleson swings, grounds into first base. Arise has it, fires to second one. Bogarts to first is in time, and a double play to end the inning.
It was a really good defensive play. 3-6-3 double play. Arise to Bogarts, back to Arise, and they got Burleson to end that eighth inning on a double play. Bases loaded with 1 out. Kyle Hart on the mound. Really, it felt like the game kind of hanging in the balance there, right? I mean, there's a big difference between being down 2 or being down 3 or more. The Cardinals had an opportunity to put it away. Let's say that. In that bottom half of the eighth inning. That was a really nicely turned double play, 3-6-3. So despite the loss, that ends up being today's catch of the game. And look, for the Padres bullpen today, the work was solid. You Yuki Matsui comes in the fourth inning, replacing Yu Darvish, and ends up getting an out. He then let me refresh my memory here. Yuki Matsui comes in, he ends up getting an out, and then Yuki in the fifth inning ends up. I'm sorry, he got 2 outs. Yuki did in the fourth inning. In the fifth inning, he comes back out on the mound, and I'll tell you what, he was. I thought it was kind of a miracle with the way Yuki was pitching in that bottom half of the fifth inning that the Cardinals didn't score a run. I mean, he was just not in the strike zone, falling behind guys. He walked a guy, a single, another walk to load the bases. He came back on Paez to strike him out, and then Wandy Peralta comes in and gets the final out of the fifth inning. Yeah, I mean, I somehow, some way, the Padres got out of that fifth inning. It just felt like, with the way Yuki was pitching and falling behind, it felt inevitable almost that the Cardinals were going to somehow get some runs. But they did get out of that fifth inning. Peralta then gives up the home run solo shot in the sixth inning to make it 9-7. But Estrada good in the seventh inning. Again, Kyle Hart got the help from the defense, the double play behind him to get out of the jam in the eighth inning. So look, the bullpen did a pretty good job keeping this game within reach. And again, the Padres offense late in the game could not find a way to score some more runs and ultimately come back to tie this game after being down 7-2 after just 2 innings. All right, let's go to the phones. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, phone number to call. Let's go to San Marcos. It's Doug calling in. Hi, Doug. You're on the Padres Radio Network on this Thursday. Go ahead.
Hey, Sam. Always good talking with you, buddy.
You got it.
How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. Would have liked to win, but hey, not in my control.
Yeah, I know. I've been a Padre fan since '74, so I'm used to it. Hey, look, man. A couple things real quick.
Mm-hmm.
One, we got a hit, man. We got a hit. We're not. And two, something that I thought about last year, and I'm thinking even more about this year, is Yu Darvish, man. He should be on that trade deadline. I'm serious, and man, he missed a lot of time, a lot more than what you mentioned earlier.
Doug, I'd appreciate the phone call. I mean, look, he missed it with injury earlier this season. I mean, he had the elbow injury and he missed a lot of time earlier this season. I don't think Yu's going to get traded. I can't see where it's him at his age with his contracts coming off the injury, where he's going to be a super attractive trade candidate. Look, I think with the Padres and Yu Darvish, you have to really, really hope that you can find somewhere close to his top form again. Again, I don't want to sit here and say after 4 starts coming off the injury and without a spring training and with kind of a very start and stop rehab process that was lengthy. I don't want to sit here and say that Yu Darvish isn't going to be able to return to that form. I don't know. I think it's going to be in the Padres' best interest for that to happen, especially, and you want to talk trade deadline, Doug, especially if they move a Dylan Cease. Man, does that become very important that Yu Darvish finds it before this season is over. And I don't just mean in a postseason sense. I mean in a regular season sense. I mean, I continue to maintain, it's all well and good to talk postseason and worry about how you're set up for a potential run in October. You got to get there first. And this is a really tight race in the National League. Okay. In the wild card, Padres got a game for a playoff spot right now. That's it. And we got a long way to go. And I believe they're capable of getting there to October, but I just think for that purpose to get there, it's going to be very important for Yu Darvish to return to the form that he hopefully can I should say return to the form that we've seen in the past. I can't judge that off 4 starts right now coming off the injury. We shall see. So we'll continue to take your phone calls, 833-288-0973, phone number to dial. All right, final score, Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. We'll continue our post-game coverage. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and more after this on the Padres Radio Network. Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score, the Cardinals 9 and the Padres 7. We'll squeeze in another phone call or two before we head out. First, let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Well, we only had 4 other games in the majors today, which I found so strange. 10 teams are playing. 20 teams had the day off today. Anyway, other games. A's beat the Astros 5-2. The Blue Jays beat up on the Tigers. Man, Tigers are not playing well all of a sudden. They beat them 11-4 today. Orioles beat the Guardians 4-3 in Cleveland. Stephen Kwan had 2 home runs in that game. Padres and some rumors have been linked to Kwan, but Orioles won at 4-3. They got Gunnar Henderson RBI single in the 7th inning to take the lead in that one. Mariners and the Angels in Anaheim. Mariners beating the Angels 3-1 in Anaheim in the 6th inning right now. And for the Mariners in that game, they had a Julio Rodriguez home run and a Randy Arozarena home run, a 2-run shot for Arozarena to give them a 3-1 lead for the Mariners in Anaheim. By the way, in case you missed it, and Jesse and Tony talked about this on the broadcast, there was a big trade that really does start the activity at the trade deadline now being less than a week out. The Mariners trading for the Diamondbacks Josh Naylor earlier today. Jeff Passan reporting that via ESPN. The return for Arizona is apparently left-hander Brandon Garcia and right-hander Ashton Izzy are the prospects heading back to Arizona. But obviously the major part of that trade, Josh Naylor reportedly traded from Arizona to Seattle. So look, let me give you a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, I think it's a great trade for Seattle. I have wanted the Mariners to be more aggressive. I think they've got the pitching to make a real run in October. They've got a good bullpen too. They've played well. And I like Naylor a lot. I think he's kind of a perfect fit there. They needed, a guy who could play a corner, play first base and hit. And he can hit, and he can hit for power. I think that's a really good move. I like it a lot for Seattle. Now, from the Arizona perspective, I think it starts to get fascinating. Obviously, we've wondered if they will sell at the deadline. On one hand, trading Naylor would appear to be a signal that they're going to sell. They've obviously got a huge bat in Eugenio Suarez, who I would think would get a massive return from somebody. He's one of, if not the most coveted bat on the trade market this deadline. There were some reports, and I don't know where they were from. I can't remember, so I almost don't want to say it because I'm trying to think it was just chatter on X or if there was reports of this, but I did see something today. Again, I'm almost hesitant to say it because I don't remember where I saw it, but something today where it was from somebody that I would trust. The idea that maybe they still wouldn't trade Suarez and try to re-sign him in the offseason. But again, like, you could still re-sign him even if you trade him, right? I mean, that doesn't happen a ton, but it's possible. I would look, if they're trading Naylor, I would think that Suarez is going to go. To me, he's a really coveted bat. I mean, he's having a great year. To me, if I'm the Diamondbacks, I'm moving him and getting a haul back, because I think you're going to get a haul for him. So it's interesting from a Padres standpoint, because that's somebody they've got to play still after the deadline. In fact, they have a series in Arizona following this homestand, so their roster may look a lot different during that upcoming series, but also somebody that is within sort of striking distance of the wild card. So interesting there. We had our first big trade of this deadline with Josh Naylor reportedly traded from Arizona to Seattle. All right, let's squeeze in one more phone call here. Let's go to Mike calling in from Imperial Beach. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Tammy. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Thank you. So I'm a longtime Padres season ticket holder, and I love the Padres and I love everything. I want to hear your take on the Dylan Cease trade. I've been hearing a lot about it, and to be honest, I feel that Dylan Cease would give us a chance when we make the playoffs. That would give us a better chance with the struggles that Darvish is having. Pavetta's having a great year, and hopefully Michael King will come back as strong as ever. But I think Dylan Cease would be somebody else that would be, a reputable starter for us. So the Dylan Cease trade, or just an option, I understand that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and we want to get a return for him. But I would, just hearing Ben and Woods in the morning, I love him. But hearing about that he would be an option to trade, I kind of took it like, well, he gives us a better chance as a starter than anybody that we could get in return. Understanding that we do need a bat, and we do need a strong bat, and our offense is struggling, and that would help us out a lot. But there should be other options. What do you think?
Yeah, Mike, it's an interesting question. It's been the talk of the last 24 hours after Buster Olney was reporting that yesterday that the Padres are listening on Cease. I think the thing to not get confused about the Cease situation is, to me, it's not a classic case of, oh, you're going to lose him at the end of the year, so we might as well get something back. To me, this is a much deeper situation than that, where certainly losing him at the end of the year and the fact that he's a free agent is part of it, but the needs offensively are glaring. The numbers offensively overall, it's no secret, are concerning. And to me, it's about using someone that you probably can get quite a bit for. I know Dylan's not having a great year, but I'm willing to bet there's a team or two out there that will view him as, okay, let's get him in our building. And we know there's ace type potential there. And we've got to catch that lightning in a bottle, right? So I do think you'll get quite a bit back for him, even though he hasn't had a great year. I do. I think you can shop him enough. And starting pitching is always coveted this time of year, even with him not having a great year. But again, there is a pedigree there. I do think you'll get a lot back for him. To me, this is all about the major league roster, though. This is not simply a situation where it's like, oh, he's leaving at the end of the year, let's get something for him before he goes. No, I would fully expect if they move Cease that there will be other moves for AJ that will make sense alongside it, okay? Because I've made this point a couple of times now. It's not like a team that trades for Dylan Cease is going to flip you their starting left fielder or their starting catcher. It's not happening. Now, can you get something else from a team? Can you get their fourth outfielder who's better than the options you have right now and run him out there in left field? Maybe. Can you get a catcher that's a better option? Maybe. Can you also get prospects that you can either flip to another team or make you feel okay about trading guys you already have in the system because you're going to feel a little bit more replenished? Maybe. To me, they're going to the Cease move is not going to be a singular move if they move him. And I do think they would have to go make a move to get other starting pitching in here. Now, it's not going to be a guy with the ceiling of a Dylan Cease. You saw them linked to Charlie Morton. I would think there's going to be a move like that to go get a starting pitcher, right, of some caliber. It's probably not going to be somebody with the ceiling of Cease, but, well, not probably. I can almost guarantee it's not going to be somebody with the ceiling, but I use the word ceiling very specifically because, look, Dylan has not really been reaching that ceiling this year, right? It's been below that. So, yeah, to me, it makes sense. I do think the counter argument just in the Dylan Cease part of it would be this. And we had this conversation on the roundtable earlier today, and I do think it's a fair argument against trading Dylan. To me, you could present me with the argument of, well, what are we getting back in this whole scenario if we trade Cease and somehow use that to go get offensive help one way or another, how I just laid out, right? Is what you get back in return going to match the potential of Dylan Cease really figuring it out, going on a run for a couple of months, and you see the dominant version of Dylan, which we all hope is in there for him? You know, are you better served trying to squeeze every last bit out of Dylan Cease and hope that he can find that dominant version of himself? Look, he hasn't done it in the postseason yet in his career. Maybe it's in there for him in the postseason. We'll see. But, you know, are you willing to take that risk? And again, that's a tough question to answer. I do think it's a fair debate, though. But look, there certainly, Mike, is a scenario where you can definitely sell me on the sell and buy strategy to fill some needs that this team really desperately needs to address. And the problem is, both from a financial standpoint of where the payroll is and from a prospect standpoint, this isn't where it was a year ago. Okay. If the Padres could they, you know, if they had the prospects to go do it, okay, and the system to go do it, and wouldn't be like a great fit positionally either. But hey, you could tell Eugenio Suarez to be your DH every day and throw a bunch, and not that Arizona would trade. I'm just living in a hypothetical world. Not because I don't know if the D-backs would send him to San Diego anyway. But you know, yeah, like this isn't last year where it was, hey, we need a couple of big time relievers. Here's a bunch of prospects for Jason Adam. Here's a bunch of prospects for Tanner Scott. Here's a bunch of prospects for Luis Ariz. Here's a bunch of prospects for Dylan Cease. All the moves they made over the course of the last year. I don't think they're in the place where they can do that. And you have to also consider, and Kevin Acee has reported on this, the payroll part of it and what they're willing to add right now. So we shall see. But can you sell me on this sell-buy strategy involving Cease? I do think there's some logic there. I do. But to me, it's the most fascinating deadline that AJ has had for all those reasons. It's a really interesting one. And look, we've praised AJ at times for how creative he can get. He's got to get creative. He does. So we'll see. Going to be a really interesting week. It really is. And look, you wonder, the Cronenworth name's been flying around. Suarez can opt out at the end of the year. He would be very highly coveted, I would imagine. You've got a bullpen that's a real strength. Would you try to deal from a position of strength and think that you can get by without Suarez? To me, it's fascinating. I think there's a lot on the table this next week, and I think there's the potential for this to be a pretty significant week for this organization, depending on what they want to do and how they go about it. So, going to be fascinating. We shall see. The result tonight, not what they wanted. Cardinals win it 9-7. Let's hear our play of the game.
The line between winning and losing can be razor thin. Which play was the difference between victory and defeat? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Delivers, and that's into the air to very deep left center field. Johnson's going back into the gap at the wall. Gonna go. Second home run of the inning for the Cardinals. Wilson Contreras adds another extra base hit to the ledger. A 3-run homer, and it is 7-2 here in the second inning.
The second 3-run home run of that 6-run second inning, the Wilson Contreras 3-run home run. Our play of the game here tonight, and as always, gives me no great pleasure for that to be our play of the game, but kind of hard to argue against it tonight. Made it a 7-2 game, and really the story of this game, despite the Padres offense doing some good things, certainly unable to come back from being down by 5 after 2 innings in this game. Padres have now lost 3 in a row. They dropped to a record of 55-48 on the year. The Cardinals improved to 53-51. Taking a look ahead to tomorrow, it'll be game 2 of this game 2 of this 4-game series between the Padres and the Cardinals. Right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres tomorrow. Right-hander Miles Mikolas on the mound for St. Louis. First pitch tomorrow at, is this correct? This says 4:15. I have a feeling it is 4:15. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Maybe because it's a Friday? Hold on. I want to make sure about this. So it was 45 today. Both game notes say 15. I'm going to make sure, though. Not that I don't trust the PR departments. I do. No, it is. Yeah, 4:15. Okay, a little bit earlier tomorrow. Confused me for a second. First pitch tomorrow here on the West Coast, 4:15 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins at 3:15. Again, the starting pitching matchup, Pivetta against Mikolas. As always, if you missed any portion of our postgame coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts, or you can go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our postgame coverage there as well. Taking a look at the final totals in this series opener for San Diego, 7 runs, 13 hits, no errors. They left on 8. For St. Louis, 9 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. They left on 6. Winning pitcher Sonny Gray, who improves to 10-4. Losing pitcher Yu Darvish drops to 0-3. The save goes to Ryan Helsley, his 20th of the season. Time of game, 2 hours and 50 minutes, and the crowd at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri on this Thursday night, 30,601. Once again, first pitch tomorrow here in California at 4:15 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins at 3:15. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Kyle Ovenshire, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long and good night from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score here tonight, the St. Louis Cardinals 9 and the San Diego Padres 7. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.